it's going to be a really emotional time, spending 6 years at a place like Notre Dame. It's unbelievable. I wish it didn't have to come to an end, but, all the things have to come to an end in order to make that next leap in your life.
Here come the Irish. What a run! Touchdown! Play of the year for the Irish.
Hey, welcome to the Indy on NBC Podcast. I'm Coy Robson, joined by Jason Garrett. Coach, it was tough. Clemson lost 31-23 bye week. This is it, the final home game before we see Stanford and then see the bowl fate. What are you looking for from this Notre Dame team out of this bye week?
Yeah, looking for them just to bounce back. And disappointing loss to Clemson. You felt like the team was going in the right direction. Big win against Pitt. And hey, let's go beat Clemson. We'll have a bye. Let's finish the season strong the right way. 2 losses, all of that. But, you go down there to Clemson, and even though Clemson's 4-4, we get that. It's a tough place to play, and there are a lot of good players. They've won a lot of games there for a long time. So Notre Dame did not play their best game, but now that one's behind them, and they got to look forward and respond to the adversity. I think Marcus Freeman has demonstrated an ability to do that as a coach. And I think his team has demonstrated that ability over the last couple of years. So handle it the right way, practice the right way, go get a win this week and keep moving forward.
I love basketball, Coach. And when I saw this Clemson team, it's like I got a little nervous because it reminds me of the Golden State Warriors when Steph was injured or Clay was injured. I'm like, look, they still have like 3 championships. Like they still have the championship DNA. Even a 4-4 Clemson team with that championship DNA and Davo, they can still win a game on you, especially at home. And we saw that. What happened in the fourth quarter? I was watching the game, and the offense just had chance after chance after chance. The defense gave them a chance to get back on the field, but nothing could go offensively. What is going on offensively with Notre Dame right now, Coach?
Yeah, don't seem to have the same rhythm they've had at different times this year. And, the passing game has not been real efficient. We've talked about this. To me, it's always about making about that running back, Audric Estime, and, some of the other guys who come in and have been so good for him throughout the year, and then making the passing game complementary. They have some young guys playing receiver right now. There's some growing pains still. And, Sam Hartman was not as efficient in this game. I mean, he missed throws. They missed opportunities. So disappointing for them. I get that, but you learn from it. You move forward. They got to find a way to put their best game together and beat Wake this weekend. And I think that's what they're focused on doing.
Sam going against his alma mater. What do you think there's going to be any extra motivation, in the quarterback room, or how does a player see that opportunity?
I think as a coach, what you would always try to emphasize to a player in that situation is take a deep breath and try to take the emotion out of it. There's going to be a lot of natural emotions in this situation. Amazing career for Sam at Wake Forest, and the relationships he made with the coaches, his teammates, everybody at that university. He was there for a long time, and he's really highly regarded. So sometimes as a player, it's easy to get caught up in that. And I think what you really need to do is focus on what I need to do to prepare and play my best football. And you almost have to tap those emotions down a little bit and make sure you're locked in on what you need to do to play your best game. And then afterwards, the hugs and the tears and all of that stuff can flow. But he's got to get locked in and play his best football, particularly coming off the game a couple of weeks ago at Clemson.
To me, sports, there's a couple of different motivations, but for me, one thing that always comes up is, fear. I think that's an interesting way, like what keeps you up at night. When you look at the next 2 games, Wake Forest, Stanford, what scares you a little bit? If Notre Dame wants to finish this the right way, what should they be afraid of, or what should keep them up at night? Well,
as a coach, what keeps you up at night is human nature, right? You can talk all you want about, okay, hey, lock in, this is a good opponent, but, the guys watch the film. And they say, boy, Wake Forest is struggling on offense, or, boy, we're better than these guys. And as much as you preach it as a coach to your team to lock in, respect your opponent, respect the preparation, all of that, sometimes it says, hey, they're not real good. We should be able to walk out there and beat them. And, hopefully you've built the mentality up over time, right from the start, about the importance of doing everything you can to be your best and prepare the right way and all of those things. So it's not a new message for them to hear this week. It's the same message. And, it's a nameless, faceless opponent. Don't tell me about the records, where we're playing, when we're playing. It's about us being our best. And hopefully you've instilled that in your guys, and we'll see if they're able to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing perspective. I really like that, Coach. So we got Michael Vinson, the long snapper, coming up next. And get this, Niele Ivey, coach of the women's basketball team, ACC regular champs, ACC Coach of the Year, is giving us a preview ahead of the Citi Shamrock Classic against Illinois in DC. So don't go anywhere. Thanks, as always, Coach. You're the best. Can't wait to watch this Saturday.
That's awesome. Great seeing you, Core.
Okay, it's my pleasure to welcome in Michael to the pod. Michael, I just want to ask you about the specialists, because I know when you were a freshman, Tyler Newsome had the whole cheese thing. Do you have like a certain thing for your specialist team that you call them, or a certain standard that you guys say, like, this is our, I don't know, motto, or what's your thing?
Right. So now we have what's called brotherhood. And so we are one brotherhood. We have to do everything for each other. We got to fight as hard as we can, because we all operate on a chain link. If one of the chain doesn't, if it breaks, then the whole thing doesn't work. So, we all got to be on the same level. So we call ourselves brotherhood because we really take that to heart. You have to do everything that you can for your brother.
Does every person have like a different nickname, like younger brother, middle brother, older brother? Like how does that work?
No, the nicknames kind of ended with Newsome. So now like I think I'm the last one that has a nickname of Milk. But everyone else is kind of like we'll call Andrew Cross Android because he has an Android phone. He's the only one in the locker room that has an Android, so we call him Android. Yeah. So, or Reno Monteforte, we'll call him like Rhino, or some other fun nickname. So,
but it's not necessarily specialist related. It's more just
right. It's more generic nicknames.
Okay, cool. I'm very curious to hear your perspective. You've been playing this position for a long time, and you've reached a very elite level at it. How would you, at this stage in your career, define the long snapping position?
It's a good question. It's a very vital role. It's one that goes unnoticed because, a great example of that was this past weekend with, I think, 6 game-winning kicks. Those don't happen without the snap from the long snappers. So it's a very important, hopefully unnoticed role that we're in. We have to do a really good job of getting the ball to the punter on punts and the holder on field goals. And punt is actually the most important play in football because it's the only play in football where the field position changes that much. So that is such a vital key to winning a football game, is the battle of field position. So if you have a really good punt operation and punt, you can really impact and change the game.
As a reporter, I think the best reporters are the invisible reporters, and I'm hearing from your voice and the way that you're talking about it, it's the same thing. You take pride in being invisible. It's like if we don't mess up, it's a great punt, right? If we mess up, if people know who I am, it's like, might be something going on.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how do you think about how do I say this? When I think about the highest scoring people in Notre Dame history, people might think, maybe like a receiver, or maybe a quarterback or something. But I mean, names like Reggie Hoke come to mind, right? I mean, it's like kickers. So you're kind of like the assist man to that. You're kind of like a point guard. I guess, how do you think about that relationship to your kicker?
Yeah. So for me, kind of like what you said, like we're the assisters. We're the guys that make sure that he can do his job. So for me, I take great pride because I want all of the guys in our room to be successful, and I want to put our holder in the best position to catch the ball and just place it down without having to spin the ball. And I want our kicker to be the most successful. In order for him to be successful, our holder has to be successful. And for those two guys to really be successful, is I have to give them a chance to do their job. So for me, how I see my role is I have to put our guys in the best position possible. So it's not about me being like, look at my snap, look how good it was. It's like, all right, was it good enough to do their job and execute? And can you do it over and over and over again? So that's how I look at my job. I don't think of it like, I'm going to go have, 5 tackles this game, because that's just not realistic. I want to put my guys in the best position possible for them to go execute so we can go help this team go win on Saturdays.
So let me ask you about the NFL. I know it's your goal to go there. It's interesting because it's like probably one of the only jobs I can think of, in addition to being maybe like a play-by-play announcer for a team in the NBA or NFL, where there's only like 32 jobs, period, like in the world. And they normally are held for 10 to 15 years. So it doesn't really matter how good you are at a certain point. It's also just timing. How do you think about like navigating that timing?
Right. So for me, being at Notre Dame, it's been a blessing because I've had such a great education. I have 2 degrees from Notre Dame. So if that timing doesn't work out, it's always nice I can fall back on those 2 degrees from Notre Dame. But in a sense of like how it's going to look next year, you never know how it's going to look. Guys could retire, they could stay on for 3 more years, guys get cut, you never really know. So it's so important to just stay in the moment and where you are right now. Like right now I'm focused on, beating Wake Forest one last time in Notre Dame Stadium for us. And then, just focus on one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one practice at a time.
So it is senior day. I know you've been here for 6 years. So, yeah. So what is this senior day? What's it going to look like for you and your family?
This one's definitely going to be the most emotional for sure. The first one was kind of like a practice run. I thought I would only be here for 5 years. So, but then approaching senior day, I made the decision to come back for 6th year. So it was another practice run. But then this one's going to be really special. I'm going to have my fiance here. She went to Notre Dame. Her family's going to come to the game. So it's going to be a really emotional time, spending 6 years at a place like Notre Dame. It's unbelievable. I wish it didn't have to come to an end, but all things have to come to an end in order to make that next leap in your life.
How do you flip the switch from, hugging mom and get the little, you get the jersey, you give her the flowers, and then it's just like, okay, time, maybe you're a shed, time to play football and hit somebody.
Right.
How do you do that so quickly?
Yeah, it's difficult, but for me, I treat it like a practice, essentially. We're big proponents, and Coach Freeman's a big proponent of one play, one life. So you do one thing and then it's over, on to the next thing. So for me, that's what I'm going to do mentally. I'm going to hug my mom, hug my dad, maybe shed a tear or two because it's going to be so emotional. But then as soon as that's over, it's game time. We got to go. As soon as we hear that lady sing our song, it's time to go. It's time to go to work and, locking in for those 3.5 hours and then celebrate after.
What has Coach Biaggi taught you about this position?
He's taught me a lot. He was a specialist in college, so it's really helped having another mindset. And then our special teams analyst, Coach Jesse Schmidt, he was a long snapper in college and bounced around the NFL for a little bit. So being able to bounce ideas off of them, from the mental side, from the physical side, what do I need to do in order to be at the elite level? And, to have those 2 coaches in our room is just an unbelievable experience and something I, will not take for granted because those guys are just filled with knowledge.
I mean, you too, like I said, you've been there for a long time. How do you think about charting the path? In what way would you chart the path from walk on? What did I need to do to get the scholarship? What do I need to do to get the starter? What do I need to do from the starter to become second team, preseason All-America? And then how to make the next step? Can you just kind of, if you can, like put it into like a little, how you thought about it?
Yeah. So, when I came here in 2018, I knew I would be sitting behind John Shannon for 2 years because, he was the starter and an unbelievable long snapper. He won the first ever Patrick Manley Award in 2019. So just learning from him and asking him questions, the intricacies of the position and how to deal with it mentally, because when you're playing in front of 80,000 people, that's a lot different than playing in front of 1,000 people in high school. And then plus the millions at home on TV. So really, trying to dial in on the mental side. And then when it came to be my time, it definitely had some ebbs and flows. The first game, super nervous. Luckily, it was during COVID, though, so there wasn't that many people in the stands. But just having a mindset that, like, you've earned it. Enjoy it, have fun. And my dad told me when, there was some up and downs in my career, never let anyone decide what your path is. Like, only you can decide what your path is. And then our quarterback, Sam Hartman, we had our senior talks. He talked about the man in the glass. And I think that also really resonates, is the only person that can stop you is you. You're always competing with the man in the glass. That's the guy who's going to stop you from doing what you want to do. So, from going up from walk-on to scholarship to start, or walk-on starter, scholarship, All-American, I think just having that mentality of like, I'm my biggest competition, especially mentally, it's a really challenging position because there is so much pressure on you to be perfect, but you can't let that get in the way. If you go out there, you have fun, you have a smile on your face, you take in the moment, you enjoy it with all your brothers out there, then it's fun. Just trying to make it fun takes the pressure off. And at the end of the day, it's just football.
it's just
As
football.
crazy as that sounds, at the end of the day, it's just football. We're all going to do unbelievable things outside of football because of a place like Notre Dame. We're going to have business leaders, politicians, people who are going to change the world. And so when you really think about it, it's just a game. So having that mindset kind of brings down the pressure a little bit, and that can actually elevate your performances when you take that pressure off.
Yeah, you have 2 degrees from Notre Dame. We talked about maybe waiting in the NFL, trying to find that right time. But let's just say, the game ends for everybody. What do you want to do long term after the game finishes?
I was a real estate minor, my undergrad, and I took a lot of really cool real estate classes. So I'm hoping to get into the real estate development side. I think that it's really cool. I've taken a bunch of classes with developers and people who work in the finance side of real estate, and it's just really cool. And, I took a class with a professor who built a building on the Chicago River. And so how cool is that? You're just driving around. It's like, yeah, I built that. Like that's my building. Like I helped build that building. Like that would just be awesome.
Yeah, bring something home to Winnetka. Say to everyone, I made this building.
You guys see that? Yeah, I built that.
Yeah, what kind of? But yeah, but it's interesting because when I think about great buildings, I went to the Driehaus Museum in Chicago, and I thought, wow, I didn't know about the Gilded Age of Chicago. I never read that. I was too busy thinking about maybe like the Burj Khalifa, what's going on, in the Gulf, and all these crazy new skyscrapers and cities being built out of nowhere. What kind of buildings would you want to build? If that would endure, or what kind of stuff are you interested in?
I'm interested in the residential side of real estate. Real estate's a very competitive market, and I'm a very competitive person. I've been here for 6 years for a reason, because I love to compete. And so I think I'd be a real asset in a really competitively driven industry, because I love to compete. I love to win. One of our standards in the golden standard is refuse to lose, which is, competitive spirit is refuse to lose. And I hate losing more than I like to win. So, just keeping that fire. If I'm not in football, eventually, kind of like you said, it will end. So keeping something that gets me competitively going, I think I would really enjoy.
It's funny. There was a great interview with Tim Duncan. I don't know if you're a Spurs fan or a basketball fan, but that's what he said. He's like, I think, someone asked him, how do you be great or something like that? I'm butchering it, but he said, I think one of the big keys is hating to lose. Everyone says focusing on winning, but I think hating to lose is a seriously underrated thing. Who taught you how to hate? Have you always had that?
So a little bit, my sister, my twin sister and I, we always competed in sports, whether it was basketball in the yard. Like, she was a really good athlete, so just always competing with her. And then, when I watched Moneyball for the first time, and Billy Beane is talking to his players and said, I hate losing. I hate losing more than I want to win. And there's a difference, or whatever the quote was. I was like, wow, that really resonated with me, because winning's fun, but there's nothing like the pit in your stomach when you lose and you should have won. Like, it just eats at you, and you just hate it, and you just want to get back to work. So just having that kind of mindset, I was like, wow, it's pretty good.
My last question for you, Michael, we could talk all day, but I want to know about this Indy 500, because in my line of work, sports, literally you can ask anybody. They work the biggest Super Bowls, Olympics. I say top 4, top 5 greatest sporting events in the world. Indy 500 is always on the list. How was your experience there?
It was awesome. It was really, really cool. I got to do a lap around the track. I went to the rookie luncheon. The great people at the American Dairy Association of Indiana, they took really good care of me and my mom. My mom, she grew up racing cars with her dad. She was a big race fan, and they used to go to the Indy 500 all the time. So for me to go with her and have that really cool experience was one of the cooler moments that we've had together. It was just me and her in the grandstands. We were watching the practice, and we got to toast all the rookie drivers with a champagne glass of milk. We got to meet the rookie drivers. It was a really cool experience.
Wow, milk toasting with milk with mom. This is just like, you couldn't write a better story. We're going to end it with that, Michael. I can't wait. I hope that you enjoy senior day with mom, with the family, with the fiance, and I hope you get that win. We'll be rooting for you, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking with you and meeting with you.
I want to welcome Coach Ivey, the Karen and Kevin Keys family head coach. I did that right? Right, Coach? The
Yes.
long introduction. Okay. Niele Ivey, it's so great to have you back into the podcast. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. First and foremost, let's just get right to it. Paris, how was it? I mean, it's like one of the best cities in the world. First time an NCAA basketball game has ever been played in the city of love. How was it for you?
It was unbelievable. First class event. It was just what I imagined and more. The girls, I mean, our team just had just a phenomenal time. Not the outcome I wanted as far as the game, but the experience was exactly what I imagined. It was a dream come true for me to be able to be a part of this and to bring women's basketball on the main stage in Paris. And they did both teams extremely well as far as this, the atmosphere. We went to the Eiffel Tower, we went to the Louvre Museum. We had a basketball clinic with like 100 12 to 13-year-old girls. It was just such an amazing time. And I know my team just loved it.
Well, what did you like at the Louvre? Because I remember the first time I went to the Louvre, I was so overwhelmed. I had to like sit down and like go take a nap afterwards. It was so exhausting.
Well, that was my second time being there. So Mona Lisa always is like my favorite exhibit to go into, just to see how many people were in there. Because when you see the Beyonce Jay-Z video, it's like, it's massive, it's big, there's no one in there. But when you actually get in there, the portrait is like, it looks like a Polaroid. It's so small. And then, there's so many people in there. So it's just like, it's completely different from what you expect. But I'm a big fan of just art and things like that. So it was cool just to see a lot of different rooms.
Yeah, I mean, in Paris, obviously, French love basketball. I mean, and you don't tell me in San Antonio we have Tony Parker and now Victor Wembanyama. Just being able to be there ahead of the games, the Olympic Games next summer. What was that like to preview for your team? Because there's so many. I mean, I interviewed Jackie Young and Jewel Lloyd won the Olympic gold. So I mean, it's like almost like a pathway to the Olympics. What was that like for the girls on your team?
It was awesome. And we're staying at the same hotel, I think, that USA Basketball is staying at. So they kind of shared that with us. So we were just excited just to feel like we're actually in the hotel they're going to stay at. My team was so excited about that. And then we had a boat tour. So we traveled with South Carolina and our donors on a yacht tour that Saturday evening for a couple hours. And on the Seine River. So that was the boat they said that I guess the Olympic team, both teams might have dinner on or something like that. So they shared that with us. So the team, they were going crazy about that. So just to know, we were kind of like you say, the prelude to the Olympics and the excitement that's going to come there as far as a lot of people traveling for the Olympics, which is such a big deal. It was also something special to feel like we were there right before the Olympics are being held there.
And this season, let's talk a little about the season. So obviously I'm a big fan of the team. I've been watching y'all. Just like the first couple of games, I'm like at the edge of my seat from all the places around the world I'm at. I'm like, how's Hannah doing? I'm like, how's Coach doing? So tell me from last season, ACC Coach of the Year, you make it to the Sweet 16. Going into this season, how do you reset expectations and talk to your team and kind of bounce back from that Paris loss?
Yeah, well, I mean, each year, the expectation is always high here at Notre Dame. The standard is always high. We have a personal standard for this program. So I always talk about that, the expectation. When you come here, when you inherit that legacy of Notre Dame, we're everybody's Super Bowl, it's very, very high expectation for this program. And so we always talk about that initially. As far as my team, I think we did a great job of bouncing back. It's almost like we were in the moment. I take away a lot of stuff from losses, so I did that, watched the film, watched it with the team. And then we just got back to work. It was one game, the first game of the season. We just happened to play one of the best teams in the country, which I knew we were going to do that. It was almost like a challenge that I felt like was going to be great for our program. And it's a measuring stick to see where we're at. And they responded. We got back to work, had some great days of practice. And then yesterday we were happy just to be able to play someone else and kind of get that out of our system, that loss out of our system, so we can move forward.
Yeah, I mean, the score line was 104-57, so you got out of your system. Very happy to play someone else. When you were in Paris playing South Carolina, I couldn't help but notice Magic Johnson watching and then tweeting about the game and one of the plays that the South Carolina player was doing. But it was just so amazing to me because I'm like, coming off of the NCAA tournament with LSU and with UConn, and there's so many in Iowa. There's so many great storylines coming out. How have you seen the environment around women's basketball change this season?
Yeah, I mean, already the excitement has been just as planned. I feel like the momentum from last year's Final Four, LSU winning national championship, all the exposure that game and that Final Four received. It was the most viewed Final Four in the history of our game. I think it was like 9.2 million viewers in the Final Four. So we're riding that momentum. Women's basketball is riding that momentum of excitement for our game, which I think is amazing. So for us to start in Paris, I feel like they did a great job of just promoting it and the excitement of bringing like you mentioned earlier, the only collegiate game overseas on overseas land. So in Paris. So like that was an excitement in itself. And to watch the tweets, I think Kevin Durant tweeted, they were telling me afterwards, like it was star-studded in the arena. It felt like I was like, I feel like I'm in a Final Four game. The atmosphere was unreal. The energy was amazing every day. Even in practice, we were just so excited to practice. Just to be there was awesome. And so Magic Johnson bringing awareness to the game. Kevin Durant, speaking on Hannah, speaking on Malaysia from South Carolina. Like that's what you want. You want eyeballs. We want eyeballs on our game. And so I thought that was awesome. And just to get the respect that I know coaches have been talking about for decades, so it's just awesome to be a part of it. And it's really exciting just to see so much support and love for the women's game.
It's just so interesting to me because like when I was in school, I mean, everyone who like has touched basketball knows Skylar Diggins can play basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't, so it's interesting to see the difference between, I guess, an average fan of the sport versus like a Kevin Durant or a Magic Johnson who they're like game recognized game. Why is there this gap and why did it take so long?
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it didn't make sense. I feel like we as coaches and as a player, I've played, so I feel like we're doing. It's just like you said, game recognizes game. Like we've been playing like this for a long, long time. You just have stars like that are emerging. Some of your stars emerge mostly in the WNBA, but Skylar was the first to emerge on the national scene. And everyone knew who Skylar was now. And everyone knows who Angel Reese is. Everyone knows who Caitlin Clark is, Paige Becker. So, and now everybody knows who Hannah Hidalgo is and Olivia Miles, so all these big name players or all these incredible programs are emerging and being household names. And it's about time, to be honest, because I feel like this game has been incredible for a very long time and with some incredible coaches.
So I want to talk about Hannah and Olivia. You mentioned both of them. What has Olivia's development been like since she's been part of the program?
Yes, it's been awesome. And like she came in just
Byron. Like she came in.
I'm lucky that I'm getting these type of point guards because I mean her IQ and what she does on the court. I will never forget her first practice. I think everybody's jaw dropped because she just changes everything. She's that gifted. And so what she's done every year, she's gotten better. Unfortunately, she's, had an injury, as we all know, last year, but she looks great this year. And when you're out with an ACL or any type of injury that sidelines you, you get a chance to see the game from a different perspective. So she's going to be better even just for mentally having to sit out. It gives you like a different appreciation for the game. And she's so locked in and she can see her spot. She can see where she can really help us. And so that's going to be amazing when we see her back on the floor with us. But every year she's gotten better. She's probably been on every person's watch list for the past couple seasons. She was in the Fire as an early enrollee freshman. And so all that experience is really going to help her as she continues to help and lead us when she comes back.
And what about Hannah Hidalgo attracted you when you first saw her and you were recruiting her? Because obviously she's exploded already, but just when you first saw Hannah play.
I was just like, she is such a dog. And everybody talks about her being a dog. Like her energy is contagious the way she plays. She plays with this level of confidence and swag that you do not see very, very often. I always say like she kind of reminds me of Skylar when I was watching Skylar as in high school, just the way she impacts the game, her presence on the court. Like she's small, she's only like 5'7", but she has a big presence on the court. On the defensive end too. Like she loves defense. She loves picking people's pockets.
Rare.
She loves steals. Rare. She loves playing defense. Like as a coach, I'm begging people to play defense sometimes. You know what I mean? Like that's not people want to, make assists and score baskets. Let's be honest. But Hannah, she wants to get steals. And so having somebody like that, I was blown away when I first saw her. I was like, this is the feistiest little guard in her whole class. And and then to get to know her, and she's just a sweetheart off the court, but on the court, she's a different person. And I love that. So that's the first thing I noticed was her energy and just her fearlessness when she plays.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a nerd on basketball, so I mean, I just love thinking about guys like Michael Jordan, who how can you lead the league in scoring and be like the defensive player of the year? You know, like it's just like Hakeem Olajuwon, like those kind of players are so rare nowadays. Where I'm like in the NBA, I'm like, can anyone do that again? You know, and then to see that you're just like Hannah loves play defense, that's great. I love that.
That's how I feel. Trust me, that's how I feel.
So let's talk about the Shamrock Classic. So the Citi Shamrock Classic this year, it's going to be this Saturday, November 18th in Washington, D.C. Yes. Last year was the first inaugural edition, if I remember correctly, right? And it was against Cal. It was just amazing. I was watching it on TV, and I saw Zor calling it, and I was just like, this is amazing to see prime time game. So what about this weekend? What have you learned from last year, from your hometown in St. Louis to now going to D.C.? How have you prepared the team?
Yeah, well, like you said, just being another part of another first and being the first historical game on NBC, that was such a big experience for us as a program. And I always feel like at Notre Dame, we're always trying to put ourselves in these type of positions with our national brand. And so grateful for that and the partnership that we have with NBC. And so last year with Sharman Smith, the connection was, she was from St. Louis, 2 Black first African-American female head coaches in both programs. So that was kind of the highlight of that game and matchup. And then for this year, we're playing Illinois, another up-and-coming powerhouse. They have a brand new coach. This is her second season. So we feel like playing like a really good Big Ten school. And then being, in DC is an opportunity for us to really kind of tour DC. We're going to go to the African-American History Museum with the team on Friday and bring a group of young girls with us. It's all about, being a role model as well, the impact that we can have on the community and using our platform for good. We might have a couple speakers that will speak to our team. So we're excited not just to play the game, but to give our team another experience. And that's really important. And it's all about empowering our young student athletes. And we're going to get a chance to do that now in DC on another national stage.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think as an 18 to 22-year-old, everyone that I talk to from your program, it just seems like they understand that they're ambassadors,
Yes.
And it's just really amazing to me because I feel like at other top, because you're ACC regular season champs. I mean, like you guys are like, it's like a top 10 program, and yet they understand the maturity that comes along with being, wearing the ND. How do you communicate that to all the recruits that come in?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one thing that I preach about Notre Dame and the brand and the network and how it's going to impact your life for more than just the 4 years you're here. We always talk about the 4 for 40 or 4 for forever. Like this brand being a part of this university is so massive. It's so special. It's very unique. And I talk about that all the time. I let them know, like, we're always trying to give them experiences that are life-changing for them and try to introduce them to a lot of powerful people that can help them along the way. Just like with our alum, that's something I talk about a lot because that's what Notre Dame does. It's a powerful brand, it's a powerful network. And, I try to explain that and express that in the recruiting process because it's different. I always talk about Notre Dame. It's a very unique institution, but we do a great job of just empowering our student athletes and our campus, all the students. It's a very powerful brand. And I talk about that all the time when I talk to recruits.
How's your relationship changed with Notre Dame, I guess, as you've gotten older and, you played there, you coached there, and it's just like, because even for me, even the past 10, 11 years, it's changed a little bit, so I guess for how have you grown to see Notre Dame a little different now as you've seen it a little further away? Yeah,
I wish now, I guess, because I have such great relationships with a lot of our alumni, a lot of our donors, a lot of our board of trustees, I have a great relationship with Monk Malloy, who's our former president, Father Jenkins. Yeah, I brought Monk to Paris, actually. He ministered a church service on Sunday. So that was awesome to have him travel with us. But just realizing the magnitude of everyone that touches this program and touches this university, I wish I appreciated that more as a student athlete. I feel like I was in my silo with basketball that I didn't get a chance to really explore the magic of Notre Dame, I guess you can say. And so as a coach now, I get a chance to make these connections with so many different people. And I get a chance to realize the business side of Notre Dame, which I can really, really appreciate, and all the donors and high impact power players here at Notre Dame that I've had a chance to connect with. It's a much larger scale that than I realized as a student athlete.
It's just so amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you and your team, and I can't wait to watch this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock, Notre Dame versus Illinois. Coach, thank you for joining the pod. As always, it's a pleasure talking to you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so now, as I mentioned many times, I love basketball. I cannot wait to see this game, Citi Shamrock Classic, 1 p.m. NBC and Peacock, and then going straight into Wake Forest Senior Day. I mean, this is going to be the greatest Saturday ever, is it not? If you love Notre Dame, I know exactly where you'll be. Probably on a couch watching the exact same program I'm watching. So we'll be back next week for a recap of the Wake Forest game and a preview of that final regular season game, that classic California game. You go out there Thanksgiving with your family, if you're lucky enough to have your family travel with you, and you're with your teammates in the warm weather, escape the cold, wintry breeze of South Bend and play Stanford. It is special to go out there for that Thanksgiving game. Be sure to download and subscribe to the Notre Dame on NBC podcast on the NBC Sports YouTube channel and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Go Irish.